I call the honourable member Reno Terakatani. Tēnā koe, Reno.
Tēnā koe te kai whakahaere o te whare. Tēnā koro e ngā menita, koutou ranga me mō tēnei paremata, tēnā koutou. E aku rangatira, ngā iwi o tūranga nui a kiwa, Rongowhakaata, ngai tā manihiri, ka ai tā ngā mahaki, tēnā koutou. Nau mai hara mai, whakatau mai ki te paremata nei. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ni atu ki aku whanaunga no te waipaunamu, no ngai tahu whānui, ka tā mai nei ki te kaupapa tēnei tēnā koutou. Huri no e te whare, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa. Mr. Speaker, much has been said by the Minister and my senior colleagues today in reference to this bill before us, and it just gives me great pleasure to be here to speak at the final reading for Rongowhakaata and ngā uri o te kōtiriki-rangi. This bill is about them, and it is a real honour. So a lot of comments have been made about, and it is true, Mr. Speaker, the atrocities which were committed against Rongowhakaata were heinous. Wairinga hika, ngā tapa, the detentions over at Whare Kauri, and the confiscations of their lands. And I've spoken a lot about those actions in my earlier speeches. So I want to focus this final speech, Mr. Speaker, on some other aspects to this bill and to this settlement. The return of the superb piece of artwork, the whare known as Te Hau ki Tūranga. And I know the speakers before me have spoken a lot about the return of that beautiful, beautiful whare. The ongoing preservation of that revered house will be of great import to the descendants of Master Kawa, Raharuhi Rukupo, and the whānau and hapu of the Poverty Bay. Mr. Speaker, these people of Rongowhakaata are an ingenious people, quick to seize upon opportunities advantageous to themselves, successful international traders right up until 1865. And just the ingenuity of Rongowhakaata, the flight of the so-called rebels from Whare Kauri to Tūranga is a classic example, as my matua here, Parakura, mentioned. It's a classic example of what I speak of, and the daring of those actions never ceases to amaze me. And it wasn't much of a trick, Mr. Speaker. They were imprisoned for 2 years on a faraway land over in there in Whare Kauri. They overpowered their guards, hatched a cunning plan to flag down a schooner and head back home to Tūranga Nui a Kiwa. Now, it seems to me, Mr. Speaker, the only way to get to and from the Chathams those days was to steal a boat. Because Pomare did it from Wellington in 1835. He did the round trip. And Te Kōti and his crew did the return trip back from the Chathams. So those Māoris weren't going to paddle their way back. It's too far. But such was the ingenuity and sheer willingness to survive and the drive to get back home that was demonstrated by the illustrious tupuna of Rongowhakaata who are here today. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I have absolute faith in the uri of Rongowhakaata as they look towards their future, as the descendants of these intrepid and fearless men and women. I know the leaders of today are well equipped with the knowledge needed in today's world. Mr. Speaker, may I also take this opportunity to acknowledge ngā uri o te kōtiriki-rangi in this bill. Over 130 years of stigmatisation has ended for the descendants of Te Kōti. Finally, families back home in Gisborne and uri around the world have an apology from the Crown acknowledging that their actions led to the deprivation of mana of the descendants of this great patriot. Mr. Speaker, his proverbial saying, his whakatauki, e kore tūranga tangata e kitea ia au, e tūranga whenua e kite ia au, has become a song for the land. It translates, sir, as, the people of Tūranga will never see me again. The land of Tūranga will. It evokes a new dawn expressed as a belief that his spiritual return will occur as this terrible history is laid to rest through the process of legal settlement which we're going through now in the 21st century. The whakatauki expresses the hopes of 5 generations that land taken at Tūranga will be recognised as having been wrongfully taken. Then, the Mata Te Kōti Arikirangi, the man who was exiled as a spy without trial in 1866 without cause, then he may be able to return home. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to encourage that the history of Rongowhakaata that has been outlined in the Crown acknowledgements and in the Crown apologies in this bill, that treaty history, these text stories and histories are a huge contribution to our national history. And I would want to encourage that our nation as a whole take grasp of the lessons of the history that is etched now in our statutory books, but we don't want them to just be sitting on the shelf of statute books. And I'd like to encourage this government, or whoever is in government, that we want to make sure that our treaty history, as outlined in these treaty bills, becomes compulsory teaching in our social studies classes for our tamariki right throughout the motu. I think it's very important that this history is known and that it is educated to not only this generation but our generations to come. May I acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, the colleagues that are in the Māori Affairs Select Committee under the chair of Honourable Tau Henare and all our fellow members. And I also acknowledge the work of Minister Finlayson and his officials. I'm a new member to this House, Mr. Speaker, and I do think that in a way we are finishing off the hāngi, but it was actually laid down by those before us. It has the hands of that great statesman, Sir Michael Cullen, and other people, other administrations who have been awhiing and tautokoing this bill right from the early days. And so it's a pleasure to be participating in this third reading and to be part of the Select Committee to bring this bill to its final passing. And I would also just finally now like to mihi to Rongowhakaata, to Stan Pardo. I see Lewis up there and all of the kaumātua and kuia who've travelled all this way. It's a real honour to mihi and to speak to this bill. I know it's a very important day for you. It harkened back my own memories, obviously, when I was sitting up there with my whanaunga from south, when we were having the passing of our own legislation down there for Ngāi Tahu. So I know how you must be feeling today, very proud, and I join you and we all join you in the celebration today. We acknowledge the many, many years of hard work that you've committed, Stan, and your team there, but also we acknowledge the many ancestors that have gone before you. And so I am very proud. I celebrate this with you today, and I mihi to you all. Kia ora tātou katoa.
I call the honourable member